Hello YouTube and welcome to my in-depth Kalphite King guide. In this guide I'll be explaining everything from why you'd want to kill it to how to get there and the techniques and things you'll want to look out for while killing the Kalphite King. The Kalphite King has many valuable drops, most expensive including its unique Drygore Rapier, Longsword, and Mace, as well as the respective offhands. There are 3 roles that one could take when attempting to kill the Kalphite King. These are Attacker, Tanker, and Provoker. The attacker's job is to be dealing maximum DPS to ensure speedy and efficient kills. However, attackers are not required to kill the Kalphite King. The tanker is there to take most of the damage and to keep the Kalphite King's focus constantly on him to ensure that the provoker does not become green. What it means to become green will be explained later in the video. When the Kalphite King spawns, the tanker must provoke the king. The provoker is probably the hardest job of the 3 roles. His job is to note when the tanker becomes green and to quickly save him by provoking the Kalphite King off of the tank to gain its attention and then using one of 3 abilities to prevent death. This will be explained further in depth later in the video. Since the attacker is there to do the most DPS, they should wear their best offensive gear. The most effective thing to wear would be Void. Full Torval also works if you have all 5 pieces of it to gain the damage bonus. While it is not required that you have Drygore weapons, I highly recommend that you have them, especially for smaller teams. For the most part, the attacker bar can be interchanged. The only ones that you should definitely have are Freedom, Anticipation, and Berserk. The rest you can change, but you basically want the abilities that will deal the most damage per second. Some good ones are Havoc, Assault, and Massacre. The tank wants to wear gear that will ultimately give them high defense as to not take too much damage during the kill. Torva or Bandos are recommended for this role. Little things like wearing a skill cape instead of a kiln cape and a berserker ring instead of a ring of vigor are nice ways to increase your defense without hurting your DPS. The tanker's ability bar is basically the same as the attacker's, except you want to have overpower instead of berserk and you need to have provoke. It is possible to use berserk, but if you use it, you'll take a lot of damage, increasing your chances of death, so it is better not to use it. The provoker wants to have defense on all 3 combat types. The reason for this will be explained later. They also must have a shield. If you feel you need more mage defense, Ganodermic boots, gloves, and helm are cheap and give good magic defense. What the ability bar for the provoker consists of can be interchanged for the attacking abilities. However, you must have Freedom, Anticipation, Provoke, Resonance, Barricade, and Immortality. I chose the abilities on my bar that had a quick cooldown rate, so I never found myself just standing there. I also have a magic ability on my bar, just as an adrenaline filler, since as a provoker you should always try to keep your adrenaline at or near 100%. The inventory setup for all 3 roles is basically the same all around, except if you decide to take a unicorn instead of a yak, which is only recommended for the attacker, you will also take scrolls for your familiar. To get to the Kalphite King, use the Bandit Kit, Lonestone Teleport, and run south past the temple into the Kalphite King's lair. It is important that if this is your first time here that you make sure there is a pickaxe in your tool belt, as it will save you time later. If this is your first time here, then this tunnel will be blocked off, and you'll have to run around and mine it from the other side. This is why you needed the pickaxe. To the south a bit, there is a designated area where all of the graves will appear if you were to die at the Kalphite King, but it is quite easy to get back, so there's nothing to worry about. The Kalphite King is a special boss in that it has its own room designated for each instance, or each group that chooses to kill it. When the host of the team goes into the boss room, they will be prompted with 5 questions after choosing the option to start a new battle. The first question they will be asked is the maximum number of people that will be allowed to be in the boss room at the same time. The second question being the minimum combat level required to join. The third being the key or password that if set to 0 there will be none, but if set to a number will be required in order to get into the room. The fourth will be the spawn rate, and finally the 5th question they'll ask is if they would like to join the room. To exit the room with the Kalphite King, you right-click the exit on the south wall and leave. If you're a member of the team but are not the host, when you click the layer to enter, you'll choose the Join an Existing Fight option, followed by typing in the host's name and then clicking Yes to enter the boss room. The instant kill attack can only be used by the boss during the melee and range phases. When this attack is used, the player the boss is focused on, which should be the tank, will be turned green, and the only way to survive this attack is to be saved by the provoker. It is up to the provoker to provoke the boss, directing its attention towards them, and then using either the Resonance, Barricade, or Immortality abilities. This is the only way to survive its attack. If the provoker fails to provoke in time, the player who turned green will be hit for their maximum life points. If the player does not use one of the 3 abilities to save themselves, they will then be hit for the maximum life point hit, as if they were the one that was turned green. It is important to note that Resonance should be used as a last resort ability. If possible, the Evoker should use Barricade or Immortality. Resonance causes the player to heal the amount of life points the next attack they are hit for would have dealt. This is good, but it is possible that the Marauders can hit the Provoker before the King attacks, and therefore causing the heal of the small amount of damage, resulting in the player taking the max life point hit, and then dying. This is why the Provoker should have good defense. Just in case Resonance is their only option they have available to use, you want to try and avoid the Marauders breaking your Resonance. As soon as the Kalphite King attacks the Provoker after they save the tank from being green, the tanker must then quickly provoke the King back onto them to prevent the King from making the Provoker green. The Kalphite King has 3 phases which it randomly switches between during the kill. To determine which phase the Kalphite King is on, you look at its wings. Melee is yellow, range is green, and mage is blue. The melee phase consists of 4 standard attacks, however you only need to be aware of the charge and bleed attacks. Just keep in mind that all melee attacks will hit any player in front of the king, so you should remain away from the tanker if you are an attacker or provoker. If you notice a bleed attack, you can use freedom to break free from it, because the bleed can be deadly. During the charge attack, the Kalphite King will glow orange and face one of the compass directions, and after a few seconds will dart forward, pushing anyone in its path. This attack is easily avoidable, however this attack does not usually cause too much damage. Note that it is important to remain away from the walls while fighting the boss, as this will cause him to use a melee attack that deals over 3000 damage. The range phase is noted by its green wings. This is the phase where all the players will most likely deal the most damage, as there aren't any attacks by the boss that will prevent the player from attacking it. The only attacks you need to be worried about are the stun and the incendiary shot. The stun lasts quite a long time, so it is recommended to use freedom to break free of it. The incendiary shot is where a shot is fired that can deal up to 5000 damage if not praying from range, so keep your life points high and your prayer on. The magic phase is signified by blue wings. Please note that during this phase, the Kalphite King cannot use its instant kill attack. This phase is often cause of death at the Kalphite King. During this phase, the Kalphite King will shoot off different kinds of orbs. The high-hitting orbs will explode with a large radius, dealing high amounts of damage. This is potentially very deadly if a player is hit by multiple orbs at once. The blue orbs follow the player and cannot be avoided, and typically stun the player. It is important to note that after the attack with the blue orbs, the yellow orbs that are shot immediately after will explode with only 1 damage dealt to the player for each one they are hit by. The final actual attack that you need to be worried about is when the Kalphite King digs. The Kalphite King can burrow into the sand, in which it will pop out up under the player it has its focus on, dealing high amounts of damage, as well as stunning the player. So it is important to move around while the boss is underground to ensure that you are not hit. There are 2 types of healing auras, the red healing aura and the green healing aura. Players should continue to attack the boss throughout the red healing aura because they will still deal greater damage than the boss will heal. During the green healing aura, however, players should stop attacking the boss because any damage that would have been dealt will heal the boss. If the boss kills someone with his instant kill attack while the red aura is active, he will heal 24,000 life points. Please note that the use of the ultimate ability Frenzy will cause the king to use the Barricade ability, preventing it from taking any damage for 10 seconds, and it is therefore recommended that one does not use Frenzy. It is confirmed that the Kalphite King can use the Immortality ability as well. It is not currently known what causes the boss to use this ability, but when it does, the king will be revived with a certain percentage of life points remaining. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this guide helped, and I am sincerely sorry that you had to spend the last 9.5 minutes of your life listening to my voice.